Hi everyone, it's Adina or Adriana, whatever you want to call me, and you are listening to the NJN podcast, Notes from a Jewish Newbie. That's me. Powered by Meaningful Minute. Okay, I'm answering some questions that were submitted to me on this app anonymously. We also have a really crazy cool feature on Meaningful Minute Plus, which I hope you all start to use, where once a couple people will be brave enough to submit, I can make an entire podcast episode where you guys are essentially on the pod with me. You get to submit a question, it's a voice note, and we'll play your voice on the podcast episode, and I will literally talk to you directly and answer whatever question, and it's really cool. So definitely look into that, but if this is what you are feeling comfortable with right now, then so be it. Let's go to the app. Woof, there's so many. Obviously, I can't answer all of them, and some of them I won't answer just because I want to answer in the right time, but let's see. Could you do an episode just on prayer and what your daily routine looks like? As a fellow Jewish newbie, davening can be really confusing and overwhelming. Heart. Super cute. I could do an episode on just prayer, so maybe I will work on learning and giving more of like a Torah concept of how I connect to prayer, but I'll answer right now just what my daily routine looks like. I'm not perfect, but I always wake up and I say Moda'ani. I also have it taped to my mirror with it like written out in the worst like fanatic way possible. I love starting my day with Moda'ani because it just reminds me, not only am I alive, I'm thankful like that Hashem woke me up today, but I also remind myself when I'm feeling really down, I've had a rough couple weeks, what is my purpose here? Hashem woke me up for a reason, so don't let him down. Hashem had faith in me. So then I wake up, you wash without a bracha, then I go to the bathroom and say Asher Yatzar, then I wash with a bracha, then I'll drink some water. I usually eat a little before I daven, but then I will do like always like the morning brachas, and I usually do like the morning prayer. I say Shema. I sometimes do a full shacharis, but I also sometimes don't. And I hope that's okay. I also have a really amazing book. It's from Art Scroll. I'm going to post about it soon, but it's basically like personal prayers for women. And I really sometimes like today, I was excited. I was having a hard time. I said, please Hashem, help me get my work done today. There's a prayer for like business. I consider this my business, I guess. There's a prayer in there for like hoping everybody sees me with like favorable eyes. Like, yeah, I did that one too because I've been having a rough time on social media lately. And I always pray that I am humble and have enough humility so that I have clarity to see what Hashem really wants from me today and every day. Oh, and then this is a new thing I actually added into my morning routine. I walk Finley in the park by my house and I listen to like a spiritual podcast. Right now I'm on Rabbi Goldberg's podcast just because sometimes if I'm really wanting a deep like Parsha's perspective or something, we'll listen to like the full episode. But if not, I just listen to like the 10-minute ones. And those are good for me too. Another step into like making your morning routine about Hashem is maybe I wasn't listening to a full like religious podcast on my walk with Finley, but I would only listen to religious and Jewish music. I have a playlist of like Mordechai Shapiro, Zisha, like Ishai Ribo, and I would use my walk to only listen to Jewish music and pray to Hashem like while I walked. That makes sense, like when I was first starting out. So maybe if you're not ready for like such intense like morning routine, you could start with that. What do you do with your dog when you sleep out? Dog sitter, and it cost me a fortune and I hate it. I'm looking for someone to watch him for Australia. I'm so stressed. A lot of questions about the Jewish dating, but I think I'll save that for its own episode. I just did a collab episode with Sephora Godco, which is kind of casual, kind of fun. And we hope that it came across the right way because we were just chatting like girlies, but I'll make another episode simply like solely on that. I feel like in the future when I'm ready. Where do you consider yourself religiously? Yeshivish, modern Orthodox, etc., etc. I literally am the definition of the TikTok sound. Like I always say, people get exhausted trying to figure me out and I just let them. If some of my haters are out here watching this, like a lot of people love to try to label me. And I don't know, like I don't really have a label. I have a lot of influence from a lot of different rabbis, teachers, backgrounds. Like two of my main rabbis were Chabad, but then my first introduction to Judaism was like the Litvish, Yeshivish families in Boca, and that's how I know, like, that's where I feel like I hold for a lot of my like social type interactions and stuff. It depends on the shul. Like my shul that I daven by in Chabad Central, in my personal opinion, it fully functions no differently than I'd say the shul BRS, BJC, Young Israel, like how socially it does there. Like I feel like everybody comes, like majority of the shul is observant unless it's like a random one-off like bar mitzvah or high holidays, which random guests come to the shul. But then I've also been to some shuls that are modern Orthodox, Litvish, some that are Chabad, and they're like way less than the religious levels in Boca. So like it depends on the shul. So that's why I don't like define myself by like what shul I go to. But I feel like the one-liner I give people when they're like, what are you? And they will not let me go away without answering their question is, I did an Orthodox lip fish conversion with the rabbis in Boca. Two of my rabbis that were involved in the teaching were Chabad. And in general, though, I really just appreciate learning my Judaism through like the Hasidus approach, I guess. Hasidus. I always say I think I'm very Orthodox, but like what's modern about me is like I have a modern personality. But then you guys also see like I dress like mixed levels of tznius. But some people are like, I'm modern Orthodox and like they don't keep fully kosher. They don't fully keep Shabbos. They don't cover their hair. They wear pants and like, you know, whatever. Like that doesn't mean it defines you. But like then I also say like I feel like I'm modern Orthodox, but like I feel like I also hold differently in categories that are closer to Orthodox, if that makes sense. Truthfully, if we want the real answer, I think we should all be saying to ourselves, when I was in Poland, there was not a section for the modern Orthodox, for the Yeshivish, for the Orthodox, for the conservative, for the Reform. Nobody got a better treatment. It was simply, if you were Jewish, then you were persecuted and killed. This got really dark really quickly, but I think we shall remember that in the kindest way possible. Sorry that got dark really quickly. You've told us that you continue learning and agree, good for all, even born Orthodox over 70 years old. Besides listening to Rabbi Goldberg, which you had his shir when you were discussing Hebrew non-translation problems. I made an Instagram reel about that. And I just mentioned it before, the podcast I like to listen to. What else do you do to continue increasing your knowledge of Judaism? I should make an entire episode about this, but I read a lot of books. I do go to learning classes. In Boca, I went to so many more because like I had a different and more free life. Now things gotten a little crazy, but essentially I read, and anytime I'm feeling disconnected from Hashem, I read, I listen to Jewish music, and I know this sounds stupid, but it helps me reconnect. I make sure also sometimes, like if I feel like I'm disconnecting from Hashem, like I'm just getting a little too caught up, I'll make sure to spend Shabbos somewhere that I know I'm surrounded by extremely like religious individuals and having a true proper like Shabbostic experience. Like sometimes in the city it could be difficult because it's so fun and you can walk everywhere and like so social, but like sometimes I'll go to like my family's houses in New Jersey, Muncie, like Lakewood, and I will just like enjoy being around. And like soon, hopefully Boca, I want to come back to Boca soon, being around like just like the genuine like family's typical Shabbos experience where like everyone's like there and everyone's going to shul and everyone's kind of holding in the same religious place, and it helps like oomph me up back to like where I know I can hold and belong, just in the mindset of Shabbos per se. Like obviously observance wise doesn't really ever change, only ever grows, but like mindset wise, it's hard to sometimes stay focused. And that's why I intentionally have to put Hashem into my life. I daven extra and I really read a lot of books. I also on Shabbos will sometimes say to people like I don't want to hang out because I want to read. I'll book speaking events and I'll say, tell me the events you want me at, but I need time to read. So I'll go into maybe another time the books I read and how I connect. Maybe you could submit a question about the topics you want to get into. This person said, who do you like? Ooh, Finley. Not a question, kind of a mean comment, but I feel like I should kind of address this if they want to put it in. Someone says, feels like your feed became more about ads rather than your personal journey. And you know what? They're not wrong, but what it more so is I have a lot of content in my phone that is about my personal journey, but I've personally been kind of struggling with some mental health where I have a very hard time right now balancing what I want to show the public about my life, even though I have this podcast where I dump everything into it in my heart. It's different to dump everything into a podcast where people who are here, they care, they listen for hopefully the full 40 minutes versus an Instagram video that's exposed to everybody, people who hate you, people who love you, people who are not even knowing like who is this account. It's vulnerable. And I'm personally working on getting some more personal content out there, but the things I post, it's only because I really owe it to the people who either sent me free clothes or I filmed for them and like I really want to market their businesses. Even then, I'm still behind on jobs I need to do. But don't worry, my content's coming back. And although I wish I could still film with like the kids, like I'm nannying in the 5 towns like this entire week. I don't film the kids anymore because although I never put the kids online, they were still like, they just have become like my escape and my peace and my happiness. And there's so many moments I do wish I could share when I was a preschool mora, like so being back with my nanny kids. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But for now, I'm sorry, but I reserve that for me and them. And that's okay. It's my escape from my phone, my world, and there's no need to share it. It's special to me. How old are you? Can you walk us through the day of your mikvah look like as the final step of conversion? Do the rabbis wait outside? Do they give you a certification? How does it work? I actually have a reel I should post about this because one of my rebbitzins recorded like the ceremony, like basically where they presented me with my certification. I woke up and I remember saying, Adriana, let's treat it like any normal of a day. But I remember when I drove to the mikvah, I didn't even want like music on. I was just like wanted silence. I knew about the date for a week or so, but like then they even changed the date last minute, which freaked me out. I don't even know. So this day I thought, I was like, they're playing games with me. No, I don't think they were playing games with me, but essentially I did like all my mikvah prep. I showered, I packed an outfit. Outfit was like a random cute outfit, nothing special, whatever. My Yekir Bella per usual. Then you shower when you're at the mikvah, and then you go into the mikvah and you have to wear like a very, very like, it's specially designed, but it's like a cloak that like covers the water so that way like nothing's touching you, but you can't see in the water because they read out to you like some really pretty serious statements while you're in the water. And you know, I kind of saved those statements for my speeches or personal conversations because it's so personal to me, but basically they really give you one last chance to say like, this is what you're signing up for. Do you want to become Jewish? And you sit there and you just are like, yes, I do. And then you say the bracha, you go under, they leave, the mikvah attendant is there, but you're still, like I said, you're still covered, obviously. And then they say kosher, and you can stay in there for however long you want. I stayed in there a little bit longer. I did a couple extra dunks because I was like, let's just make sure. You make sure your hair is under, whatever. And then, yeah, you get out. And I put my clothes on. And they were all waiting. And they had my certificate on the desk. Should I get it? Oh, it's packed away. But fine. I'll go get it. I feel like the people will really like that. Dun, dun, dun. The Beit Din of Florida has all my rabbis' names on it and their titles. Pretty great guys. Thank you, Hashem. And then it has their signatures and it has my picture. And should I read it? This is to certify that on the 11th day of Adar 5785, corresponding to the 11th day of March 2025, which is kind of cool, it's the same day, Adriana converted to Judaism according to halacha in the presence of the undersigned Beit Din, the rabbinical court. We establish that she is worthy of becoming a righteous convert. You guys, and has accepted upon herself the yoke of the Torah and its commandments. In our presence, she immersed herself in a kosher mikvah for the purpose of gerut, gerus. She was named Adina Shoshana Bas Avraham Avinu. May Hashem bless her and inspire her to remain faithful to our holy Torah and to the Jewish faith. She is now as any Jew in our community. She may marry any Jew, except for a Cohen. And here's my picture. Is it like weird of me to get that framed? Like I want to like put it like in my like room, my house one day by the candles, like in case anybody here wants a question. There it is. I'm kidding. I also didn't really smile for my picture because I know passport photos, you're not supposed to smile, but I was like, I'm becoming Jewish. Yay. And then to finish up the day, I went out for sushi at Yum Sushi in Boca with my two rabbitzins and yeah, called my other rabbi in LA. We cried. We were so happy. Called some of my friends, but like then I just kind of chilled, had the rest of the day. Whatever. Yeah, it was great. Best day ever. Can you speak a little bit about your background? Are you Hispanic? Do you speak Spanish? I was born in America. When people ask if I speak Spanish, though, it's a complicated question because it actually just happened this morning. I started singing opera when I was 12, which means you sing in German, French, Italian, maybe sometimes Spanish, but it's not like one of the three main languages you sing in. So in school, especially for Florida, like the second language that they teach you, it's not Hebrew, it's Spanish. I remember I was in IB and like one of my IB final essays, which like I nailed it, I crushed it, was like I had to write like a 5-page paper front and back, like on the spot in Spanish. And I did it. What did I talk about? I don't even know. So I knew Spanish, but like I was never conversational in Spanish. We never spoke it at home. Like I said, like I love my dad, but he just worked all the time. And so that was kind of like the only, I didn't see him so much and it wasn't like it was established so much in the home. I always make a joke saying like the only Spanish thing about me is simply my last name and that I can get a really good tan. But then I went to Florida State and I started to like learn opera and I started to take Italian 1 and 2. And my first week of the Italian class, the teacher calls me up and he was like, are you like Spanish? Do you know Spanish? And I said, yeah, I do know Spanish. We actually had the same last name, so he knew. And I said, I know, like, you know, I learned it pretty advanced in school. And then he's like, well, you're making all the same mistakes that most Spanish people like make because my primary focus at that point in my life had to be like Italian, German, French. And in Italian, there'll be a word in Spanish that's the exact same as in Italian, maybe one letter off as in Italian, or it would be completely different. A good example is like una is one in Spanish, but then like un is one in Italian. So one letter off, right? But then like dos is two in Spanish, due is two in Italian. Very different, like completely different words. But then there's some words that are like completely the same. I can't think of it right now, but like this is my issue with Spanish and Italian. I got to the point where I could actually speak Italian pretty fluently. Like I'm pretty good at Italian. For example, my doorman today said, "Me encanta su falta," something like that. All I know, because my brain translates both of them, whether he be speaking to me in Italian or Spanish, and it was in Italian because he said, "Me encanta." He said he liked my skirt today. But that's how my brain works, if that makes sense. So whenever someone's speaking Italian, I can understand it. Whenever someone's speaking Spanish, I can usually kind of understand it. But my issue is I will start to speak to them, and sometimes I will grasp for the Spanish words, and sometimes I will grasp for the Italian words. And I don't know why. So sometimes if they speak Spanish to me, I'll start speaking Italian back, and I'm like, wait, that's Italian. The Spanish word is that. Why don't I ever just give a straight answer? I don't know. Soon to learn Hebrew, hopefully. Are you still nannying? Would you move to a different Jewish community if you got a good job offer? I love this question because people always say, are you still a nanny? You know, like I said, I'm actually nannying for an entire week this week. For a while, I've only really accepted from strangers, like travel nanny jobs, or I only accept jobs that from people I personally know and I've personally worked for and their families. Before my conversion, I used to be a mora, a nanny. I do consulting for social media. I would just simply make like UGC content for companies. I did influencer brand deals. I actually did speaking events, but I completely stopped them because I didn't want to be bombarded with questions I didn't want to answer. And I would do like nannying, whatever. But then I just told myself that like after I convert, I want to move to New York and I want to fully lean into whatever opportunities Hashem has for me, which has led to less nannying, less kid stuff, which makes me sad. I've been missing it a lot lately, but more, like I said, I've been traveling the world doing speaking events. I've been doing a lot of charity stuff. And yeah, of course, like I get offered influencer partnerships and stuff, but I just really take every opportunity as it comes and I let everything come from Hashem. But I know one day, like I'll be having my own kids, God willing, but like also like I always have to be involved with kids somehow. Like they just are my grounded. So I'm very excited to like work as a nanny this week. But don't message me being like, I'm looking for a nanny from like Wednesday from 3 to 4. I stopped doing that a while ago. Reserved for like only my nanny families. A lot of dating questions. Favorite food, salmon or steak? Favorite drink? I used to love Celsius, but I guess maybe we'll go alcoholic. I love mojitos. I like wine. I always like wine. But I only really drink water. I don't like seltzer. I don't like carbonation. Favorite color? Pink. Duh. Pink. Pink princess. I'm waiting for you to go to Israel. I'm going to Israel in December. God willing. Any regrets since becoming a Jew? No. I love my life being Jewish. This is kind of a crazy question, but whatever. Why did you have so much attitude and were so rude to people who realized you were converting and tried to subtly help you with things? So maybe there were people out there who subtly tried to help me and I didn't even pick up that they were trying to help me. I'm sorry for that. But truthfully, I probably was really rude and I'm sorry. But to people who would come up to me who were not from my shul and say, oh my gosh, you're the non-Jewish nanny. Are you converting? You have no idea how heartbreaking it was for me to have people message me and say, I don't know if you're converting or like, I think you're converting. I hated to even hear people talking about it because like, I didn't have an answer. I didn't want to like, it was so painful to have people remind me of my username in shul or just remind me that I wasn't Jewish. Like it wasn't for the world and the public to see. And to this day, I think I'm very humble. I think I'm very open-minded. I'm always learning from rabbis and stuff. But there's also a nice way to say things and there's also appropriate time to say things. And for me, I'm sorry. And it's completely like on me. But like I could not handle anybody in shul. I would cry. I would be like, I would literally not speak to them like if they tried to talk about my social media. And I'm sorry, but it was my one place that I could be me. And I wasn't reminded that I wasn't Jewish. And I hated being reminded. And that was like the one day of the week. And even then when it was still infiltrated per se, where I had to be reminded of my stupid username, that was literally to remind me that I was not Jewish. I was like, yes, it's me. And yes, I wouldn't even confirm if I was converting. But yeah, I don't really think I deny help sometimes unless it was sent to me in a nasty way. Just so you know, whenever somebody gives me a critique, respectfully, I read it and I reflect. And sometimes I'm already working on it. How did you learn to read Hebrew and was it hard? I actually need to make a video about this and we are working so hard. Like I have not worked on it in a long time, but my Hebrew teacher, Cindy in Boca, is the most amazing person ever. And I need to make a video about this. Once again, back to the question about post about my personal life, but when do I do that when I'm working 24/7 and traveling? It was an amazing experience, and I couldn't believe how fast I learned Hebrew. I said to the Beis Din on my first meeting, they said, what do you need to improve? I said, well, listen, I want to be Jewish today, but I know I can't even read Hebrew. So I want to be able to read Hebrew, and I thought it would take me months, and it took me about 3 weeks. My Hebrew program that like she gave to me is amazing, and that's why we want to share it with the world. We're working to get it published, but it's hard. Now, my only flaw is I don't practice my Hebrew so much because I am busy, and I also just kind of use the English as a crutch, but I can still read Hebrew. Yeah, I'm really good at following along. Like the services, like I said, if it's an Ashkenazi shul, I'm really good at following along where I can totally pick up and where they're reading in the parsha, or also just in normal davening, because I know so much of the English translations of the words. There's only a couple, if they say Yisrael, there's only a couple places they could be. If they say Melech, I have to see like, okay, where does it say king? Where does it say king? Okay, we must be here. Yeah. And then I can fill in the gaps. I want to hear how you got out of a toxic relationship. Honestly, I prayed to Hashem, and I speak about this in my first ever Meaningful People podcast, but I said, Hashem, I am not strong enough to leave this man. So please hurt me so badly that I hate him and I am forced to leave. And then I found out I was being cheated on like the same week, maybe a week later. I don't even know. I prayed to Hashem. Hashem is the way I've been successful in anything in my life. I worked hard. I finally found my worth. The Jewish community, the Jewish moms, my own family, after finally opening up to like a lot of things in my personal life, really helped me see my worth. And I finally said, I don't want this life anymore in a lot of areas of my life. And I started surrounding my life by good people. My non-Jewish friends who were amazing to me in that time. Also, my nanny families, my nanny kids. And I surrounded my life with Hashem. What do you miss from your old life prior to conversion? What mitzvah is most challenging for you to keep? You rock. Keeping it real. I don't even like to think about what I might miss from my old life, because of course there's things I could miss. Of course there might be things I miss still, like if you think about it hard enough. But I always just think like, why would I do that myself? Like, why would I want to think about the things I could have and like exchange them for this? Like, I've already decided that this is the life I want and it's better. Everybody's life has pros and cons. Even if you compare somebody who's poor to somebody who's wealthy, to someone who lives in Florida, to someone who lives in New York, every life has pros and cons, but you just have to find the pros that like will always outweigh whatever cons. And that's what I found in my life. I don't know. What do I miss? Say hardest mitzvah is always, I feel like sneeze. I love all my outfits, but it's always, I think sometimes my questioning of my insecurity, and also being like, am I good? Am I doing good enough? Like, Adriana, are you really pushing yourself? Sometimes the answer is no, but because I feel comfortable where I'm at, I hold there still. I've talked about that for like entire episodes. So pretty much lay my life out online here when it comes to things I struggle with. But thanks for the you rock, yay. I mean, I guess like maybe like when you living in Manhattan, like because you can see all those TikTok videos, like come check out this new trendy restaurant, like the corner store or something like that. And you like want to try it just because like it's like the trendy fun thing to do. Sometimes like a lot of farmers markets are only on Saturdays, but like it's not like enough. I don't miss it enough to like not be Jewish. You know what I mean? Also, I save a lot of money, and I like definitely don't gain weight like I really should from eating out the way I used to. I feel like I always thought your opera career was so cool and such a beautiful gift. Would you ever make a comeback and perform for women like Bracha Jaffe and Shani Plotzker? Maybe I'll just leave that to be a surprise. But yeah, I totally would. Just this is a chapter of my life right now. Once this chapter's finished, I always make a joke. I'm like, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5. I have lots of things I want to do in my life, and I know that Hashem will guide me, because if you have Hashem as your business partner, and if you are living with your mindset for Hashem, then never can go wrong. You're from South Florida. Have you found kosher Cuban food? Is it any good? I have not. Yeah. I don't like a lot of like the cuisine for a lot of like Spanish food is very like rice heavy and like bean. And I don't like rice. And I also don't like beans. Even in chola, I don't like it when it has too many beans. So I feel like I'm not the best judge, but like, I don't know if they have. Maybe someone should open a kosher Cuban restaurant. Would you do a dating event with stories of hope, aka Sephora Gakko, like blind matchmaking? Totally. That'd be so fun. Sephora, we should do that. Like a fun event. We should do like a fun girly event in the future. I'm Bal Tshuva, and something I've struggled with is being fully Shomer Shabbos, Shomer Kosher, Shomer Negia, etc. When eating dairy/fish out, not covering hair, being modern Orthodox in general is an easier transition. You said transition/lifestyle, but you said transition. Keep it a transition for now, I feel like. I feel like it also depends on your community where you go. Like moving to the city, I definitely see a very, very big like drastic difference of the people around me and how they observe versus like Boca versus like a lot of the towns I visit. And that's okay. But it's hard to sometimes be the leader in an environment that you're maybe like striving to like observe above or beyond. And sometimes if you're in the place to find a different community for where you want to hold, I think it will help. But also like, I think you should not label yourself. I think you should not label yourself as, in modern Orthodox lifestyle, this or that. Earlier in this episode, I said like, oh, like I am Shomer Shabbos, I am fully kosher, but like I said, I think I'm modern Orthodox because I like to listen to like secular music. Like, I don't know. You can put yourself in whatever box you want to put yourself in, but understanding that it's a religious journey and it's a transition, and not putting yourself in a box of saying, well, I'm going to be modern Orthodox. Well, I'm going to be Orthodox. Well, I'm going to be Yeshivish, Hasidish, because that's the box I want to fit in. So I'm going to do everything in that box. I don't think that's healthy. I think being your own person and understanding that you should never put yourself in a box, because putting yourself in a box means you can never grow. Put yourself in a box, but keep the lid open. That way, if you want to grow out of the box, you could get into a bigger box. Someone said, did converting make you have to break up with your BF? I mean, essentially, yes. At that time, I was already like not going to stay with this person. But yeah, that's like essentially the straw that broke the camel's back. And I was still figuring myself out. But a lot of times, like converts will come to me and be like, I want to talk to you. And it's not that I don't want to talk to them. But I asked a couple questions first, because sometimes they're like, oh, well, like, I don't know why I'm not converting. And I live with my non-Jewish boyfriend. I'm like, okay, like that's why, like it's a different lifestyle. And so the truth is, like, as a convert, you can't be dating someone who's not Jewish. Like, you can't. And so it's the truth. But I fully believe that I was always meant to convert, because even when I was seriously dating somebody and I wanted to buy a house, I spoke about this in my other episode. I literally was like, I will only buy a house in the Jewish community because I want to make my house kosher and I want my nanny kids to come to my house on Shabbos. And he was like, you do realize these houses are twice as much? I'm like, yeah, but I won't live anywhere else. I'll end this episode with this. Love your Insta and your post. Was so happy for you when you converted. Go you. Amazing. Always been a dream of mine. Converting, she means. But somehow always thought Hashem has more use for me as I am, even though such a huge part of my soul and dreams is coming home. Loving your journey. So when I truly was not converting, I actually think I gave this answer on the Mislabeled podcast of like, why wouldn't I convert? I truly was not converting, and I truly meant it. I said, I think that my voice is amplified louder as a non-Jew, and I enjoy to show the Jewish nation or the non-Jewish nations the beauty of Judaism and the beauty of the Jewish culture, life, people. A lot of people slam me for that, say it's not my job, whatever else, but I truly meant that I do believe that my voice held something different. But that's also why my voice still now today as a convert and as someone who's not in a box holds something different. If you put yourself in some type of box of label yourself, sometimes your voice only resonates with that group of people, or people will shut you out, not want to listen to you. And that's okay. But for anybody here listening, if that's egotistic, that's wrong of us. I think you should always listen to people. Obviously, if they're, hurting you or going against what you truly, truly know in your heart is like your core value to break. But you can always learn from each other, no matter what box you're in. Each of us have a different purpose in life, and Hashem has put us in exactly the place that we need to be, exactly at the right time. The shir I was listening to by Rabbi Goldberg said, like, this is not an exact quote, but it basically said, thank Hashem for being in the right place at the wrong time, or at the wrong place at the right time. We're always meant to be where we're meant to be. We all, like, I faced some hardships. Everyone here has probably faced hardships. And in the moment you think like, why? But now look how much of my journey, look how much I appreciate my life now, the things I have found in Judaism, and how, thank you Hashem, I've been given this platform and voice to inspire so many people who maybe don't see the world the way I see it. And so to the person who answered this question, maybe you're right. Maybe your voice and your life and your purpose that Hashem is using you for is meant to be as Noahide. But I always say, Hashem will tell you once, he'll tell you twice, he'll tell you a million times until you're screaming at your door of what your next step is. And no matter how hard you try to fight it, it will be revealed eventually one day. Hashem will always find another way to get in and face it and give you that opportunity to take it. And if it's not now, it's another time. If it's meant for you, it will come. Signing off. Enough questions for the day. I definitely overshared. Oh my gosh! Episode on kosher-friendly travel tips. I'm going to do that soon because I'm going to Australia. Bye!